With Warzone Verdansk back, now having a couple of, well, or really a month experience on the game, I've been getting asked a lot, what are my settings? What have I converted to, changed? So in this video, I want to run through it all. This may not be the ultimate settings video for everybody. You can see what I'm running, 14900K for CPU and a 4090 graphics card. So definitely on the high end of things. But let's run through it all. Of course, I am also a mouse and keyboard player, although I do have a Scuf controller. Shout out to my sponsors there. And I will at least show you guys my controller settings as well. Starting with the mouse, we got the mouse sensitivity 4.20. Everything just one under this. I converted from legacy to relative on the aim down sight mouse sensitivity. Back in Warzone 3, just for the sake of consistency, speeding, I was going to speed up my aim down sight speed anyways. Legacy makes it so, like, if you set it to 0.75, it'll be a 75% of what your current sense is, and you can fine-tune each of the different sensitivities if you'd like to as well. Relative, it just uses COD system, which I think is pretty good, and it upped my sense from what it was previously at, and I've been enjoying that still. Mouse calibration is just set to 0, so we don't have any delays. We don't want anything waiting to happen. We wanted instantaneous action. I've seen some people change that coefficient. 1.33 is pretty standard across all the games, so I just leave that, and I always try to mirror my sensitivity on every game that I play, which is pretty much a full 360 on my mouse pad. Some of the keybinds here, I do recommend crouch for slide, as well as just crouch in general off of C. I have prone dive set to left control now in a dream world. Hopefully in the future they separate out dive and prone. There is a separate dive button, but there's not a separate prone button. The biggest tip I can give you on this is hold down right click to trigger your aim down sight and then hit left control if you're in the middle of a fight and want a drop shot. This will make a world of difference. Drill this into yourself. Alternatively, just take all your fingers off movement and then hit left control to go prone to avoid the dive. You're going to need to do that if you're ever plating, because right-clicking doesn't work because you can't aim down sight since you're taking plates. That's a good little movement tech tip for you. Train that in the firing range, release all your fingers, and go prone. Scrolling down a bit more, I like to have next weapon and previous weapon both bound to 1 and 2, so I can hit either of them to switch weapons if I ever fat finger it. I've got a good wide berth to hit to swap weapons. Some people have this set to their scroll wheel. I find scroll wheel to be too inconsistent. I want to accidentally scroll too far and pull the wrong weapon out since it doesn't register every single one of those, especially on a fast scroll wheel. Caps lock for weapon mount. I don't use that too much, honestly. I just put P for fire mode, so I never hit this unless I really want to. Especially because I've trained myself now to do melee for V. I've gotten quite a bit better at it. I'm still not 100% consistent, but this allows me to have free movement with my fingers and grab them. Lethal equipment is forward on the mouse button, forward thumb. Armor plating is 4, is pretty default. Just old school keybind that I'm used to. You can really use whatever for that. Not a super high prio bind though, so I wouldn't use anything crazy on it. And I like interact with E. I'm okay with that. Some people like F. That's what I do in other games. For whatever reason, my brain works across multiple games for it. So you can see the previous weapon is 2. I also set my switch melee weapon to 3. This comes from some of my history in games like, this is what I set it to in Delta Force and Apex Legends and a lot of games. That's my weapon stow button. Some people have that as X. I seem to be able to use 3 better for me. And then I tried this. It doesn't actually work. But if they ever update it, this would be a pretty meta play. Make it so body shield is scroll wheel, so then you can just spam your scroll wheel and grab somebody on the body shield more consistently. I think this would be huge. There is a way to make it so it's dedicated bind for body shield, but this does not work. This has been bugged since Black Ops 6 came out, and they added it. Maybe one day it will. I also bumped my score streak up to 5, just so that way 4 and 3. I think its default is 3, but obviously I use that to pull my weapon out now with Black Ops 6 having permanent melee weapon that you can pull out. Here's some of the vehicle binds. Looks like it's all pretty normal. This is my auto run button. It's the tilde just to the left of the 1 key. I don't think I actually use this. Also, mantling to roof with Z does not actually work. They took this out of the game, or it's at least not functional right now. Left control and C to descend. That's just your prone key, I think, by default. There's some of the binds for vehicles. Continuing on down, tab for scoreboard, sure. H for the Warzone scoreboard. If yours is ever not popping up, these are different from multiplayer to Warzone. You probably figured that out by now, but just in case you're new. Ping button. Now, I rebound this from middle mouse to back mouse. Back mouse is a pretty key spot because it's so easy to hit while you're doing everything. And the value of pinging in this game is so high. That's why I prioritized ping on the back key where it's at. This allows me while I'm full auto spraying ADS, I could be hitting shots and then hit ping to calm it to the team. That's one of the reasons I'm so good at pinging and calming at the same time. Again, while diving, moving, doing anything. This did take me a couple of weeks to actually fully transition over to, but now this is pretty much my default bind in games. Unless pinging is super not priority in a game, then I leave it as an old bind at middle mouse. It's not bad. I actually don't even use my middle mouse bind in this game. That is one that I've left open. That could be a good body shield button. Maybe I'll swap to that, actually. That's a good idea. Gameplay statistics don't seem to matter. Social menu. Let's see. Is there anything under here? Doesn't look like it. And menu advanced. There's all the binds for you. If you have any questions on it too, feel free to stop by the stream. I can update pinned comment there for you as well. Now, getting to movement. I switched over to sprint assist on. I don't remember when exactly, but maybe it was Black Ops 6. Sprint assist sideways and backwards on as well. The reason I have this, it allows me to slide more consistently. And you'll notice I don't actually always tack sprint. You can set this so it automatically tack sprints, but it's going to make it so it's longer to aim down sight. And if you're ever just trying to move a little bit, especially on the mouse and keyboard, W takes you to full speed. It's like having your stick all the way forward on a controller, which is not good because you can't get the fine-tuned movement speed. You may have seen it earlier. I don't know where it was in my binds, but left alt is my walk button. And that can be good to toggle it on and then walk, but you don't really want to do that in mid-fight. Sometimes I'll do that to just like sneak up on somebody, but in the middle of a fight, I'm not ever going to do that. What you will see me occasionally do, even with this setting is just on, which basically makes it so that anytime I move, I'm in a sprint, like a slower sprint, not tactical sprint, just normal sprint. And that allows you to slide out of it. If you're walking, you can't slide. So that's why you pretty much, this allows you to slide in any direction, very fluid. You are still going to have slower aim down sight speed than if you were just walking, so keep that in mind. But it's at least better than people that are tack sprinting and might give you an edge, at least that's my hope, over the controller players. I still use shift to instantly tack sprint me. I have it set for just one tap. It'll allow me to tack sprint if I really do need to cross ground. And then I always have that tack sprint ready to go. If I ever need to cross an opening or whatever, I can hit shift and then really turn on the jets and then do a bigger slide or whatever while still maintaining the ability to do normal slides whenever I want to. Mantle assist is set to off. I just manually handle all the mantling. Same thing with crouching. You could probably leave some of these on. I think low mantles, sometimes people leave on. Corner slicing, I kind of like this too. Maybe if you're sweating, you could turn it off. It's basically when you lean around the corner, but you know, it doesn't actually change the way you look to other people. It's just a personal thing. I just like the look of it. Crouch behavior, I actually switched this back to toggle. I had it set to go to, and I would do crouch with C, spacebar to stand back up. But I noticed it kept throwing off my game too much, especially if I'm ever trying to spray somebody down and just kind of crouch spam. It's easier to just do it by spamming C. I don't know why I initially switched to go to. I think there was a bug in the game. Nonetheless, I do that. I do have prone as just go to. So if I ever start slamming left control to try and just hit the deck, I don't want to go prone and then accidentally stand back up. That's what this will help with. Sprint toggle behavior. I have tried doing hold and it just does not feel consistent for me. The main problem is that if you hold shift and then you start running, say you shoot your gun or anything, if you're still holding shift, it no longer registers. It deregisters the value of holding shift. So you have to release and re-hold after you slide. So if you do a slide cancel, even with sprint restore on, you slide, you stand back up, you have to release and re-hold shift. At that point, I've just gotten, maybe it's just I'm used to it, but I think toggle is a little bit more consistent. The only thing you need to be careful of is you need to hit W first and then shift in order to slide at maximum speed or to get tack sprint up. Okay, you can't already pre-hold shift and then hit W. Tack sprint does not activate when you do that. If anybody knows how to make that work, please send me a message. I don't know how to make it in the settings, so I can just hold shift at any point and hit. If I'm holding shift and I hit W, I should just instantly go into tack sprint. That does not happen. If that works for you, please send me a message in Discord. Tag me on Discord. I'll take a look. Airborne mantle is set to on. This is kind of just so even if I panic, I still hopefully grab onto stuff. If you're in the air, you'll grab onto it. I haven't had an issue with that on. Sprint restore on. Slide maintains sprint, and mantle cancels reload. Might be worth it to turn that off. I think the reason I keep that on is so that I never miss a mantle. Because I have it under my control when I mantle. So if I don't want to be reloading and then I try to grab on something that's not letting me because it's just cancel it. Focus on, if I put the input in, the game needs to respond to it. Hold ADS, tack stance. Here's some of the stats here. Advanced combat settings. I think most of this is pretty default now. Some of this you used to have to change back in the day, but now I think it's pretty default. Mode-specific overlays. I don't think this even works. Maybe it does. Overlay advanced settings. Maybe it's this that doesn't work. I would recommend, too, for your ping, make it so if you hold ping, there's a clear ping indicator. Clear ping. Should be by the ping wheel. I have mine set to caps. Delete pings right here. So when you hold down your ping button and then you click this button while you're holding your ping, it will clear all of the pings on the map, even your teammates' pings. They'll still see it on their end, but it makes it so it's not cluttering your screen. I love this. Now, for the controller settings, I've left it default. 1.6 is the sensitivity. That's mainly because I'm playing with back paddles. If you don't have back paddles on a controller, I highly recommend playing claw. You need to keep your thumbs on the sticks at all times. You need to be able to engage in rotational aim assist. I mean, if you've seen any video where like a streamer gets his aim assist secretly turned off, it's immediate. It's immediate difference, right? So keep that in mind. Usually play with vibration off as well, just so you don't get distracted. You're locked in on your game. Keep your stick drift as low as it can go for the dead zone. That's going to come down to your controller and what you're using. All my sensitivities are just basic 1 for the multipliers. Here is all the settings. Aim response curve. Some of this stuff, I don't even know what the motion sensor behavior is. I tried to look into it once, and I didn't see any reliable, solid information, so I just forgot about it. Now, on mouse and key, I don't use tactical sprint assist. On this one, I do. I find it much more difficult to actually click in on the left stick and maximize my movement with that, especially repetitively, versus just being able to hit shift with pinky on my keyboard is very easy for me. And from what I can tell, the vast majority of pros also just have tactical sprint assist on, so you don't necessarily need that other, couple milliseconds back to beat the people because everybody's tack sprint assist. If you are confident enough with clicking in left stick, you can leave it to on so that you can still run quickly, but you don't have to go from full tack stance sprint to ADS. Just normal sprint to ADS should be a little bit faster, and you can beat some more fights. Mantle assist off, crouch assist off, corner slicing, I leave that on. Kind of peek the corner a bit. I just like the visual effect. It doesn't actually make a difference to your gameplay. Tap to slide will be the fastest response time to actually get into your slide, which is pretty much the biggest priority for fights. The other thing that you could use is hybrid. In fact, this is probably what I would suggest for you if you don't have a Scuf, because it makes it so you will only slide unless you click in on the left stick and then dive or slide. Hit the crouch button. That will make you dive. Otherwise, and if you're not clicked in on the left stick, it will default to always sliding, and you won't make any mistakes. That's one of the reasons, too, that if you do that, it's good to have auto tack sprint on, so you're never just trying to tack sprint and then you accidentally dive when you're trying to crouch. You're kind of mixing up the buttons too much where you're going to run into a scenario that you're making an accidental move. Sprint restore, this probably could be left on. Slide maintain sprint. Here's some of the rest of the settings that I have. And vehicle settings, nothing too crazy. Then into combat. You may even like having prioritize body shield for this. Combat advanced and overlay. Finally, the controller dive into the IQ software. So on the Scuf, you can actually program the buttons to do mouse and keyboard actions. What I mean by that is the back button here I have set to reload. This is actually the R button on my keyboard. So whenever I hit the back button, it will only ever reload. I will never accidentally get in a vehicle, accidentally open a door, try and res somebody. No, none of that is even possible. This button is a guaranteed reload button. Now, similarly, I have these side bumper buttons. This one is set to dive. I just unbound it there, but I have Z on my keyboard set to the dive button. So if I ever want to just purely dive and not screw anything up, I can hit the button there. This is alternatively to running the hybrid build on the settings, but honestly, both of those I think are pretty comparable. The big one, though, that I really love on this is the right button ping. So on the right, while I'm shooting, I can just hit the bumper with my finger. While I'm shooting, while I'm moving, doing whatever, there's this button here that I can just push in, and it'll ping what I'm shooting at while I'm mid-spray or doing anything. And I never have to take my fingers off of anything. I really, really like that button. Other than that, it's all pretty standard of what every other controller is or could be. Fortunately, with the Scuf, the top buttons are also digital presses, so I don't know if you can hear this, but it's literally like a keyboard when I push in on any of the buttons there. Same thing even with the A, B, X. I do still push the actual X button when I obviously interact, open loot boxes, and the rest of it. Now, getting over to graphics. I play borderless for the sake of being able to alt-tab. Apparently, if you play full screen on most games, it gives you a couple extra frames. I have never really noticed a difference. I did change. I have on and boost for reflex. There's a certain time you want to use one or the other based on your CPU and GPU timings. I just turned boost on. Maybe it's better. These are off. Unlimited frame rate. You can set a cap to it if you are having some stuttering. Sometimes that can help. These are some old ones that I had. HDR off. This is the big one, though, of course, quality. I recently turned up a couple of my settings so that the old MW3, MW2 camos would actually show up good. Dynamic resolution off, upscaling. This seems to be the absolute go-to, even though, you know, there's DLSS and I have an NVIDIA card. For whatever reason, this seems to be the go-to. 90. In terms of you get more frame rate for the quality that the game looks good. Normal for texture resolution. I like to keep bullet impacts on. But you can see for the most part, I'm set to low. This is what I turned up, though. So if you set this to optimized, and I did turn this up a little bit, didn't seem to really matter at all, but if this is set to optimized, then the old skins that look so bad, I can't stand seeing all those old skins look so terrible in the game. It takes a little bit to load. If you pull a camo up, it'll clearly download it. So, yeah, but that I think it looks way better. Local texture still low. Shadow quality, I might even turn this down a bit, but I like to have a little bit crisper shadows with the anti-aliasing, especially for videos and for the live stream. I like to keep the quality up a bit, but the rest of these are pretty much off and low. It adds a little bit more to the immersion and makes it look a little better, but I'd rather have the frame rate on that case. 120 FOV. Motion reduction preset. Oh, these are like presets, so then your FOV drops. Yeah, no, we just customize it. This is good, though. Affected for FOV will make it so you're not super zoomed in. Wide will make it so your gun is smaller. You can see more of your screen. We keep the FOV cranked so we can see wider. If you're on a big TV, You might want to keep it a little bit lower, maybe 110 for the FOV, just so you can see a little further out, because if everything looks way too small, just go ahead and drop the FOV so you can actually shoot from far away. World motion, blur, blur, low, low. Don't want to shake. We don't want to screw our game up. And I like to have the first-person parachute, and then I alternate. Sometimes I'll go to third-person. I think it's just a smoother experience. Audio settings, a little bit deeper dive here, obviously. I'll go over my mixer settings in a little bit. You can see what I'm running here. Voice chat, not super important, but you can see that if you would like. And the interface, which they don't really let you customize this as much anymore. I just keep a couple items up. If you're somehow interested in this, there you go. Now, customization for the color filter is kind of interesting. You can do filter 2, crank both of those up. Makes it a little bit more vibrant. Not really needed that much, though. Gameplay, HUD bounds. This is a big one. Bring this in as tight as you can, so that way your HUD is closer to the middle of your screen. You don't have to look as far. It kind of helps with some of the eye strain. Hopefully you can see in your peripheral vision. The tac map, your health, everything. It's not as far your eyes need to travel. It actually does make a difference. Okay. Rotation. Everybody should know the rest of these settings by now. This should be set to square. You can see more of your tac map than just the circle. Some of these are more so for multiplayer even, but they still find their way here. And there you go. I'll break these out for you if you do want to see them. So that's the base of the settings. There's one other thing I want to show you guys for my audio that I utilize. I don't have it on this main computer. It's now on my stream computer for how my audio works. So I'm just going to let this video play at the segment so you can see what I do for my compressor to help with the audio settings for Warzone. In this audio line is my main one for the game sound that I have. I use a high pass filter that takes a little bit of the boom off the bottom. So when there's like a really big sniper, that bass is kind of cut out a little bit, so it's not as boomy for me. I also have a compressor. So at the high end of the audio, instead of it going up forever, anything that's really loud, like gunshots blaring super loud, I taper off the top of it. So it brings brings all of the top end sounds down by 2.5 to 1, compressing all of that high end. That lets me turn the overall audio up with the gain, so all of my audio goes up higher, allowing me to hear some of those subtle sounds a little better, while not blowing out my eardrums at the high end, because all those high, super loud sounds have been brought down a bit. There's some good settings that you can use for loudness equalization on PC as well. I don't like that because it makes the whole game sound terrible. This was basically me trying to recreate an audio curve that I saw from another video from Art is War, which you probably have heard of like all the intense, insane audio, but bringing up some of the lower sounds and some of the higher sounds and kind of the ranges of, I guess, where the footsteps would be. It seemed pretty good. It's a very minor difference in general, but that is the other EQ. So that's the processing that I do for anything. The most valuable thing I think is really just the compressor. There's a couple other things you can do. I don't need a noise gate or anything. A lot of these are more for voice. Hopefully this helps with your guys' setups. I will leave a link. There it is. Yeah, join in on the Discord server if you guys need any more info. Ask me questions live on stream is honestly the best place to go, but I can't reply to everything, so that's why I tried to put it here. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was, give it a like, and as more updates come out, I'll continue to put it. I have an actual channel in my Discord server where I update everything. So if there's anything new that you're looking for into the future, or you have questions, just go to there, discord.gg/StoneMountain64, and you'll see it's at the bottom channel here. So I'm going to update this video. There's also my setup for my streams and everything that I use. And yeah. Thanks so much for watching. StoneMountain64, over and out.